He's been gone for almost a decade, but Michael Jackson is still the undisputed king of pop. His music and electrifying choreography won hearts all over, and he's inspired many of today's pop stars. Now fittingly, a musical on Jackson's life will hit Broadway in 2020. It will be based on the book being written by two-time Pulitzer winner Lynn Nottage and will be directed by Tony Award winner Christopher Wheeldon. Michael started singing at the age of 5 and was the lead vocalist for the Jackson 5, consisting of another 4 of his brothers. Together, they produced mega hits like ABC and I Want You Back, with success taking them into the late 70s. At the same time, Michael also moved into his solo work in the early 70s, but did not make his mark until he joined forces with Quincy Jones to release Off the Wall in 1979. This was then followed up by the mega hit Thriller in 1982, which became the biggest selling album of all time and catapulted Michael into the stratosphere. He followed this hit album with Bad in 1987, Dangerous in 1991, and History in 1995, with both Thriller and Bad getting 25th anniversary re-releases. With his last tour between 1996 and 1997, following a 12-year break from touring, the 2009 This Is It tour had been a long time coming. Michael had just announced his highly anticipated concert in London shortly before his death. June 25, 2018 marks the 9th year anniversary. At the time, Jackson had left behind a reported $500 million debt. Some assume this may have been the reason for the tour. But in 2016, he made the Forbes list as the highest earner of the year, alive or dead, at $825 million. This was due to the Jackson estate selling half of the Sony ATV catalogue. Since his passing, there have been many tributes in the name of Michael, but one with an estimated budget of $60 million was Cirque du Soleil's Michael Jackson The Immortal Tour in 2012, which ran until 2014 with a reported $370 million in sales at the box office. And it wasn't just the fans who were left impressed.
I was looking for something amazing. I found something far better. And I really enjoyed it. And he captured Michael very well.
Michael Jackson 1, which is another joint venture between the Jackson estate and Cirque du Soleil, has been one of the highest grossing shows in Las Vegas since 2013. While Thriller Live, which debuted in 2009 prior to Jackson's death, has also been running successfully in London's West End for years. Michael Jackson had never made the Forbes annual Celebrity 100 list while he was alive, but since his death, he has racked up quite a profit, turning the Jackson estate 180 degrees. So let's follow the money. That's an estimated $2 billion pre-tax. If we include his other lifetime earnings, and after inflation, that is a moonwalking $4 billion. It's fair to say that he is making more money now than ever and cleared that debt. With more Jackson venture in the works, firstly, the new musical to grace Broadway in 2020, it seems the Jackson legacy will only get stronger with time.
Celebrity insider Neil Sean, who's met Michael Jackson a few times himself, is joining us today. Neil, I'm dying to ask you about those times you met Michael personally, but I have to get to the musical. I'm personally a huge Michael fan, but I am wondering whether fans have been begging for a Michael musical, or whether this is, for business, whether the Michael moneymaker is at it again.
Well, like you, I'm a huge Michael fan myself, but I actually think, that they're probably coming to this a little bit too late. And I'll tell you why, because there's already a great musical out there called Thriller Live. I think it's now one of the longest running musicals in London. It's also touring around the UK and certain parts of the world. And the key to making this Michael Jackson hit was simply just using all the songs. So unless the story is brilliant of what these Broadway producers are doing, I'm not that convinced. It could end up being a bit like, do you remember the Spice Girls musical a few years ago? They set it on a narrow boat and it was so boring it closed within months. I think they've got to be very careful exactly how they make the story and whether it's appetizing to all those Michael Jackson fans out there.
I do remember that Spice Girl musical. So what is the winning formula? Do they have to make it different? Do they have to use different songs? Do they have to find a star child actor? What do they have to do?
Again, it's a brilliant insight, really, because when you think about it, you could discover a new star with this musical. You could really find a brand new major star. And if you cast somebody who's already famous, you kind of think, oh, he's not really like him. So I think they're probably going to go down the unknown route. It's a lot cheaper, number one. And number two, of course, you don't have to put all the histrionics of being a diva or whoever you sign on. But with regards to the music, there's so much music to choose from. It's very difficult to say, isn't it? What would you include? What wouldn't you include? I think the difficulty is making the story sort of easy on the ear, easy on the eye, and focusing on what made really Michael Jackson the king of pop. Because really, obviously, he's known for many other things that are slightly unsavory, and also, people need to be reminded that he was a unique and great pop artist.
And of course, the heat is on the organizers of this new musical because the expectations for Michael's big fans, and we're all big fans, are extremely high with this one.
Well, yeah, it's always a danger, though, isn't it? Over here at the moment, we've got a movie coming out by with Renée Zellweger, all about Judy Garland. And Liza Minnelli, her daughter, has just gone online and said, this is no relation to the story that I know about my mother. So it's good that they've got the family on board, shall we say, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a hit. Because, of course, once the family's on board, you get more of a sanitized version. Sometimes when the family's not on board, you get something a bit more spicy. And that sometimes can be the thing that people really want. What makes a successful musical? Why is Mamma Mia so successful? It's all about the great ABBA songs. The stories are relevant, in my opinion.
And of course, some might think Michael was all about the music and the stage shows, which were always incredible, but he was a bit of a businessman himself, wasn't he?
Oh, a very clever guy, actually. When you think about the things that he bought and sold in his time, I love the fact that he sort of went, for world domination, not just in the charts, but also through publishing, and was able to buy the Beatles catalogue. Can you imagine sitting at home thinking, I own all of those hits? And of course, that really was his pension, if you like. It was the thing that, kept him going in money. Of course, he sadly passed away millions of dollars in debt, but of course, that would have always gained some money. I think for Michael Jackson himself, nobody's ever really done the pivotal biography to sort of break it down. He knew every trick in the book. I remember talking to him about, do you remember the famous thing where he was lining the oxygen tent thing? That was clearly a publicity stunt, but we all bought it, the fans believed it, and it became kind of part of a pop folklore, really, didn't it?
It did, and I think there's a lot to still clear up. Do you think a film or a biography is the next thing to come from the Jackson estate?
The Jackson estate is very wealthy, and of course they want to keep, I think, talking to the actual brothers who I met recently when they were in London, they really want to keep that legacy alive. It's very difficult when you've been an iconic pop star for many years. When you look at that Whitney Houston, they've recently just done a documentary with her family involved. Stars don't seem to last the way they did, say, a few decades ago. There's people like Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, all the Rat Pack. People still remember them with great affection. It's harder now in this very digital, transient world to keep people thinking, yes, he's still relevant, he still remains to be seen, heard, all that sort of stuff. So it's a lot tougher. I think a movie would work, but again, it's all down to casting and also picking the right period of Michael's life. And I think it would be great to look at the great period, when he was doing Bad and all of those things, taking on the world and taking out monster tours, which were brilliant when you saw them.
Absolutely. Neil Sean, thank you so much for bringing us your insights. Great to hear from someone who's met Michael
Pleasure.
himself. We'll see whether the Broadway musical is a hit. Thank you so much.